that's what the language says, is do Marylanders believe that they should have the choice to say what the redistricting rules are? And so I think it's a very clear standard, and it gives Marylanders the opportunity to be a part of this larger debate that is incredibly important for American democracy moving forward.
This morning, a fight over redistricting is moving from the State House to the courthouse. Republicans with the Maryland Freedom Caucus filing a lawsuit in Anne Arundel County Circuit Court to block an amendment the General Assembly just passed, hoping to prevent it from being placed on your ballot in November. Republicans argue it would codify extreme partisan gerrymandering, opening the door for new Democrat-leaning congressional maps. Well, joining us now live, Freedom Caucus member Delegate Matt Morgan. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You know, I want to just initially break down the goal of this lawsuit. What are you aiming to do?
Well, we're aiming to have the General Assembly follow its own laws. This law is really concerning if you believe in due process and people's ability to weigh in on their government. The laws clearly state, under Maryland law currently, that all constitutional referendums are supposed to be due by July 1st. They're a month over that date. The law also requires the General Assembly to offer a 2-week comment period for the general public to weigh in on constitutional questions. They exempted themselves from that law as well as putting the language in plain English and putting a paragraph in there of the practical effects if this amendment was passed. You add all that in, and the law exempts themselves from requiring any requirements with the Declaration of Rights. And what you have is something really, really troublesome coming out of the General Assembly. So we think there's a big problem with that. I've been told for the last 4 or 5 years that no one is above the law. Well, I would think that would include the General Assembly. So we're going to have the judicial system weigh in on this.
We just heard, Senate President Bill Ferguson argue that this simply gives Maryland a legal path forward and it puts the decision in voters' hands. What is your response to that? I mean, why shouldn't this be left up to the voters?
Well, my question for Senator Ferguson is, shouldn't the voters be told the truth? Let me read you the opening paragraph of this question. The proposed constitutional amendment clarifies that certain standards in the Maryland Constitution apply only to districts used to elect members of the General Assembly. Do you think that's why we were in Annapolis earlier this week? To elect members of the General Assembly? This is about congressional maps. And look, they're just trying to mislead the public once again. And how this played out, they submit this law for 2 days ahead of the General Assembly for people to actually see. And then they have a late filed amendment that drastically changes this bill and violates our single subject law that is required by the Maryland Constitution. They proposed that amendment at 11:08 for a 12 o'clock committee hearing on Monday. There's all kinds of due process issues with what they did on Monday. And when you have a General Assembly who has, let's face it, a supermajority because they cheated and gerrymandered themselves into that position, I think you have a runaway General Assembly at this point that you find, examples of this in third world nations.
So what are the next steps then? I mean, you filed this lawsuit. Where does this go from here?
Well, we're going to follow a lawsuit. We filed the lawsuit late Thursday night. We're going to ask for a 3-judge panel to take a look at this. We think it violates numerous laws in the state of Maryland. And just follow the logic on this, if you could. They're asking a constitutional amendment that will not go into effect until the voters vote on it and approve it and the election is certified. That would happen about mid-November. They're asking that constitutional amendment to trump the laws that are currently on the books. So something that's enacted through voter referendum in mid-November can't oversee the laws that we currently have in early August. It's just not possible. To me, this is an open and slam dunk case once it gets in front of the judiciary that they clearly overstepped their bounds and did not follow the process. And I would hope to have the same outcome that Virginia recently had.
All right, we'll leave it right there. Delegate Matt Morgan, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. 8:20.